groovy.
Yoo-hoo! And thanks for tuning in to another cult horror movie review. Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Creeps, Night of the Comet, or whatever. There have been a million horror movies starting with that. Let's take a look at Night of the Demon, also known as Curse of the Demon, directed by the one and only Jacques Tourneur, a French director also responsible for other classic works in the genre, including The Black Cat, which I actually was not a fan of, and I Walked with a Zombie. And Night of the Demon is one, if not his best work ever. And how can you go wrong with this movie when one of the greatest directors of all time cites this as one of his favorite horror films? That would be Martin Scorsese. But just before we get going, if there's a cult horror movie you would like me to review, just leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, let me know your thoughts and feelings on Night of the Demon. First off, this is not to be confused with the 1988 film Night of the Demons, which is totally a whole other story, and not nearly as good. One of the things I find amazing with Night of the Demon is that its quality. We get to see very good acting, a strong lead by Dana Andrews, followed by a good supporting role by Peggy Cummins. The cinematography is polished and even very refined looking. The writing is overall pretty decent. We have a couple of characters that we actually care for and aren't as thin as a piece of paper, and it's genuinely just a creepy flick, all while dealing with subject matter that some would find to be very B-movie-ish or low budget. It's like Night of the Demon succeeds in bringing us a very fine balance of quality and camp. You don't get that in a lot of films. Andrew plays an American psychologist who arrives in Scotland to give a conference on the paranormal, but things don't quite go as planned for him. He finds himself investigating a devil-worshipping cult in the area, which is attracting a lot of unwanted attention. The head of the cult is a mysterious, shadowy character played by Niall McGuinness, who also does a great job, a man that can be very pleasant and very evil at the same time. The psychologist is very skeptical and doesn't believe in the supernatural at all, always finding ways and excuses to explain very weird happenings. It's interesting to see how, little by little, the scientific mind is confronted with something that is beyond him and which he can't possibly explain. I also enjoyed how this film goes into local, but also international and different types of folklore regarding evil and devil worshipping. We get ancient scribes, pictures, and old books. There's even a scene where Andrews is at Stonehenge, for goodness sakes. But speaking of devils, what about the demon in question? He's really cool looking, I find. It's really a shame that he doesn't appear more in the movie. We only get to see him a couple of times. It's one of the creepiest and most memorable devils I've seen in a movie, in my opinion. Every time he shows up, there's a cloud of smoke that bursts out of nowhere and a very bizarre creaking sound. Apparently, director Tourneur didn't even want to show the devil at all, but instead let the audiences imagine it for themselves. Those special effects scenes were added later on, without his consent and behind his back. While I do find his idea interesting, and I get what he was going for, I'm still happy that the studio went behind the guy's back to add the devil in, because man, is it cool looking. I do prefer it that way. In fact, the creature is actually shown from the very beginning, which is something uncommon for the time. Bottom note, I had a good time watching this movie. You guys should go check it out. It's creepy and generally good quality horror fun.